Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. Really excited about today's session, and we have a lot to cover. So grab water, snack, take a quick bathroom break as I start with the introduction. Please note that this presentation is going to be live streamed, and I'll be sharing all the content after we are done, maybe in a day or so. I'm just gonna do a quick mic check for those who are already on the slide. Can you please tell me if you can hear my mic okay? A quick thumbs up, that's more than sufficient. Thank you, Maria, and everybody else who confirmed. I know many of you are in different time zones, and that's great. I want to give you a quick background about this meeting that we're doing. We actually used to do them in New York City back in the days, live events, but eventually with COVID, we moved this to be fully online. And that was great because now our reach is a lot more. We've reached 20,000 members who are active in and out on different events in the community and so on. And the community has been 8 years in the making. I would love for you to continue these events, which we run once a month. We choose a great topic that's going to bring a lot of value from a marketing perspective. We study it a lot, and we share with you some of the tricks, tips, things that we've done or we know companies have done that led to their success. So whatever content you see is definitely worth looking into. And as I mentioned before, everything that I'm about to cover will be provided to you in the presentation. So you can repurpose this amazing content that George and his team has put together and use it as your own if you'd like, okay? So normally we have from 5 to 5:15 general intros to kind of introduce myself, my company, and what we do. Then we'll dive into the topic and we'll have just a Q&A part of it. Feel free to drop in your questions anytime in the thread, or if you're on Facebook, because this is live streaming, we will get to your questions in time. We'll be also moderating any comments. I just want to kind of draw a quick line. This will not be any troubleshooting or training for VBOUT. This is strictly discussing a marketing topic for understanding product-led marketing. If you have any troubleshooting or support questions, please make sure you direct them to our support via live chat. And that's probably the better channel for it. All right, quick introduction about VBOUT. VBOUT is my company. I co-founded it with my partner who leads the technology. We've been about since 2014, so 7 years plus minus. And we have been blessed to be one of the top leaders in the marketing automation space when it comes to a full stack platform. So our core offering is a marketing automation stack software. We build the product so it's very simple. You can learn it quickly within a couple of hours of your time. You can learn a full stack, which is usually a lot harder to learn with our competitors. We provide it to you at a great price, and we give you premium support with it. Something that we really pride on is that the ability for us to give you human, amazing support that everybody brags about for the price tier that you're paying. And recently, we started launching AI and predictive capabilities within the platform. So you can get your hands on enterprise level predictive analytics, predictive capabilities like predictive sending, subject line analysis for best performance, AI generated content. So you can get some content for your email and social media. This is the stuff that we're rolling out this year. So if you are part of the VBOUT community, if you are using the VBOUT platform, you'll be able to leverage these capabilities right away. So these are some of the differentiators in terms of the stack and the products we provide. Many of you here are marketers one way or another. So you're used to the terms of generating leads, nurturing the leads, turning them into customers. And that's sort of what we do is we provide the tool set so you can generate leads through landing pages, forms, and pop-ups. And then we allow you to track those leads, automate the sequences so you can nurture them, teach them about your service, your product, and to retain them within your product so they could pay you month to month, and it's more of a retention and loyalty. So all these tools are available in VBOUT. We integrate very well with thousands of products, whether you're doing it natively via built-in plugins and connectors, third-party connectors like Zapier and Integrately, some of these guys. And of course, we have our own open layer API, which works really well. In terms of our interface, for those of you who are not familiar, this is only one of our flagship products, which is the automation builder. You can drag and drop easily your logic of how you would like to execute your follow-on. You can reach your customers via email, SMS, web push, retargeting. You can even drop information between VBOUT and third party of choice, receive responses, and update things on the fly so you can personalize at scale. The things that my team has built inside this automation is really unparalleled, and within or coupled with our AI capabilities and predictive capabilities, you're going to have one of the top products on the market. So I really would love to, for you guys, if you're interested in a product like VBOUT, to talk to us. We are open. We're on for any conversation, partnerships. We're not pushy salespeople. My team is really amazing in finding fit quickly. Anything you need in terms of marketing automation, we got your back, from strategy, education, training. And this is kind of the topic of today. We're going to be talking about product-led marketing and the things that you probably should be implementing if you're a SaaS company, so you can, launch this amazing marketing strategy as core for your business. Okay. At the end of the day, what we'd like to empower here at VBOUT is the ability for you to own your data, to own your first-party cookie. I'm not talking about the privacy like your own personal, but your ecosystem, from your customers to your leads, where they're going, what they're visiting in terms of your own websites and assets. So we can tell you exactly where the lead came from, how many touch points, what were the referrals, how many emails opens, SMS link clicks. We give you so much information so you can make better decisions, you can personalize better. All this, of course, with privacy in mind, with the ability for you to be compliant, CCPA or GDPR through contractual clauses, because that area is very gray right now. And owning that data allows you to take it, customize your audiences for better reach on Facebook and such. Last but not least here, when it comes to talk about VBOUT, if you are to put us on the landscape of things, VBOUT is between these amazing products. I think all my competitors are great. So if you're talking about active campaign in these guys, great price, great product. And then you have those who are expensive, bulky, a lot of features, which you probably won't leverage at the size, I would say below 20 people company in the marketing side of things. So VBOUT is right in between, and this is kind of the area, niche area that we're crafting our name in. So this is it in terms of VBOUT and what we do. A quick shout out for everybody here. What I would like to see is perhaps some general introductions where you can drop us in the chat, your name, LinkedIn, something cool you're working on. A lot of people leverage this chat to reach out to each other. Okay, some of you might be looking for an opportunity or a job position opening. Some of you might be hiring. Others might be launching a startup and they want some early adopters. Use the space, guys, in terms of the live chat. So you can share information. You might get one person reaching out. You might get 0 people reaching out. I can't promise you, but at least you tried. And this is what these communities are about. Now, to take this further, we have our Facebook group, which gets a lot of engagement, a lot of questions. We share amazing content there, recent releases, live events and such. So I highly encourage you to join our VBOUT group. George will be putting this link in the chat. So let me just make George here a presenter real quick. Right. He'll be putting the link to our VBOUT group on Facebook. We are really active, and honestly, this is a great way to stay on top of the most releases without you having to do much work. Okay. A quick pause here and a quick check again. Mike, okay. How is, can you guys hear me? I think I have Elsa and George.
Hear you.
Thank you. Perfect. All right. Thank you, Mike, for answering. Again, guys, please drop us in the chat a quick line about yourself, something you want to share with the community, so we can, we'll be able to reach out to you after. Okay. In terms of today's outline, we're going to be talking about what is product-led marketing, why it is important, the best steps to achieve product-led growth and build your strategy, metrics that you should be measured for product-led growth or the success of your campaign, and how VBOUT and a few companies have used product-led growth. Okay, very simple outline, a lot to cover though. And again, everything that I'm about to share with you today is going to be sent back to you in terms of content, presentation, video recording. So you're not going to miss out on this amazing, educational material. And you can feel free to repurpose it to your own community and launch your own events. All we ask is maybe a short credit somewhere, recognition, or maybe an invite. And of course, at the end, George always adds some bonus tools or resources that could be relevant to you. So stick around as well. Cool. Take a quick water sip here. Love it. I see some people already dropping in the chat. We got Peter from Australia. Wow. We have Sarah as well from Brooklyn, New York. Sarah, I'm sorry about the crazy events that shook town today. Hopefully things will be back to normal. I know New Yorkers are resilient. Ryan Kelly. Hey, Ryan from Northern California. Hopefully the weather is great there. And Maurice is from the US, just not sure the location. But yeah, thank you guys for dropping this in. And Andrew from Austin. Let's start with today's topic, product-led growth and product-led marketing. So in terms of what is product-led growth, I've asked some people what they think about product-led growth, and the simple answer is leading with the product, which is the right answer overall. But when you make this into a discipline, when you make this into its own segment, it's actually a go-to-market strategy that focuses on growing the business based on customer experience with the product. So you take your product, and I'm talking primarily about having an online SaaS platform of some sort, or if you are turning your service into a product as well, I think that falls within the same category. I have seen some people create a product-led marketing around the service in a very unique way. And then maybe this is open for questions towards the end. Another thing about product-led marketing is that marketers take advantage in terms of to acquire, activate, and retain customers. So the marketing team's job does not end when somebody actually signs up to the product, which is what you see right here, this trough. They continue, and their initiatives are actually intensified once they become a client. So this is the moment of them or the client signing up or the user signing up. There's a lot more that happens thereafter, from activating them, retaining them, and so on. Product-led marketing is also creating a seamless product experience that marketers need so they can give their customers all the needed marketing and resources. So if you think about product-led growth is getting people from sign up to paying and retention. And along the way, there are multiple sub-steps, which I'm going to cover, from reaching an aha moment, providing the proper onboarding resources, and much more. Okay, so this is a very simplified way of talking about product-led growth. If I am to kind of talk about sentiments, in that field, obviously people start evaluating a product. This is what you see, this flywheel right here. And then they begin using the product. So this is where they move in the activation phase, right? That's kind of the flywheel of activating the product. In the activation process, if you were able to get this client to reach the aha moment, what you've promised them prior to sign up has continued, and they've seen it, and you actually over-delivered. Now adoption happens and they become regular customers. And then from the regular user experience here, there are lots of things that you need to continue to be doing, from improvements and such, so they could really love your product enough to become champions and then refer you to other customers. Okay, this is the flywheel of product-led growth from AppSUS, whatever. I can't even say it. But AppQs, okay. Here we go. First typo of the day, but it's a great kind of summary of how people move from evaluating to adopting to paying you and coming back for more, becoming champions, and then spreading a word of mouth. Okay. All right, George, you're moderating on Facebook, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Cool. I know we have more people who just joined. I got people from Germany. Welcome. Thank you so much, Jean-Marie, for joining. Mary Ann as well. She is joining us from Virginia, I believe, or not sure. Jean-Pierre from Canada, welcome. Working on AI tools for research and many more. Sorry if I missed a few of you guys. The thread here is exploding on my end. But welcome everybody, and thank you for dropping your intros in this chat. All right, so why product-led marketing is becoming important? I think there's a convergence here in terms of where marketing is and where actually marketing initiatives should be. And I'm going to unpack that real quick. If you're working within the marketing and sales, and you have different departments, and you have product teams and customer success team and the dev team, there's a lot of silos in between, where marketing and sales, maybe they're intertwined in some of their meetings and objectives. Always are going to be silos, but there is some sort of alignment there. But then the product sometimes a little bit disconnected, and the customer service is completely on the different side of things. With product-led marketing, every member in the organization is technically involved. So the product's bringing the team together when it comes to, the marketing team is talking about how can I create demand through the product. The sales team is asking, how can we use a product to qualify prospects, right? The success team, how can we build product that makes customers become successful without human interference, and just being, doing like live training and live onboarding. And the product-led team, they want to invent the product and continue improving on the product. So one of the main benefits of product-led marketing is that brings all of these together in one unit, which is the core product offering. The second reason is that customers now, with all the trends that are happening, and you're going to hear me say this a few times a day, they love doing it themselves. They don't want you to be there and speaking to somebody and booking somebody on call, unless, of course, there's a real intent in place. Before they get to that real intent, they want to be able to learn and get things figured out. And then if they're ready to move forward, they want to contact somebody to answer some deeper questions. So the do-it-yourself mode is here. It's been here, especially in SaaS. And that's one of the reasons that product-led marketing allows them to do some of these things on their own. Most SaaS companies have figured this out, and they started providing premium models, free tier plan options as well. And hopefully, if you guys are in the SaaS space, you are providing a freemium model. Last but not least, customers want to actually try the product, not only learning about the product, which is what I mentioned in point one, but actually trying it and using it as if they are launching a campaign And I'm just taking a random thing, or in real life use before they buy the product. And we've seen this over and over in VBOUT, where we see company upload their data and build email newsletters, send it out and test it as its real use, and then they decide to buy it. So the actual process of trying it is not only by clicking around, but there's usually a lot deeper, I would say, testing process in place. So I would like to just a quick shout out from whoever is offering SaaS freemium or free trial in their product and is on with us today. Just thumbs up in the chat and tell us if you're doing freemium or you're doing free trial plans, just so we can get an idea about how you guys are using this on your side of things. All right, I'll come back to the chat, but continuing with the reasons why you should do it. Startups are becoming very expensive and pricey to grow. Primarily, competition has increased dramatically on every single sector in the market. You name me one thing. It could be, I don't know, something in the healthcare space that's, detecting cancer in children at early stage. There's competition there. Competition has grown so much that from 6 years ago until now, the costs have quadrupled, and acquisition is now in the thousands of dollars for low touch products. I mean, products that cost below $1,000 are actually costing thousands of dollars to acquire, which means the lifetime value needs to be much longer, or the lifetime usage of your product needs to increase in order for you to recoup your cost. So the cost of acquisition has risen by over 55%, and customers are actually willing to pay less because of the competition. So it's a real challenge and battles for SaaS companies and startups to grow, and it's becoming expensive. The product product-led growth can help on that front. And as you guys know, great product creates demand. Not only that the person using it will see the value and they will begin using it and adopting it, but also through word of mouth. Another great resource from Trust Radius, which I follow them closely. Every year they launch a lot of different surveys that they syndicate, from B2B buying decision, B2C products, and they concur, or you can see a pattern here in the past few years, is how trustworthy was the resource that we've consumed prior to buying a product. And right here, you can see on the top, one of the most trustworthy process that influence buying decisions is using the product itself. Okay, free trial, referral, which is the word of mouth, product demos, an analyst ranking or report, third-party preferred. So if somebody else is talking about your product and that source is trustworthy, user reviews, communities, and then they move on to like vendors provided customer preferences, vendors rep, which comes like deeper in this survey. So really, people want to do things on their own, do it themselves model before they engage with one of your rep teams. Okay. And your website content, free trials, and onboarding should help them actually consume this type of content first. They shouldn't be looking for it, not finding it, make it very abundant. And I think that's part of like the core of product-led growth. All right, reason number 5 is that you're putting less pressure on your sales team to go out and find new customers, because what they're doing now is they're actually qualifying people in the activation phase. Okay. So instead of spending time on qualifying the leads, new leads, acquiring them online, which takes a lot, right? A lot of resources, a lot of time. Now they are vetting customers, or they're following up with customers who are part of a machine. They're going through the process of education. They're learning more about you. So the sales team is actually leaning a lot on that kind of material to close the deal. Okay. That one is, yeah. If you have a sales team, you know exactly what I'm talking about in terms of getting a cold lead and turning them into warm lead is so difficult that it makes a lot of sense. Now, In terms of metrics, your customer acquisition costs can go down over time. Okay. And I think I got the order here wrong. A great product speaks to it for itself. With word of mouth referrals, cost of acquisition is actually lower than paying Facebook, let's say, for it. So if your product is great enough, people will refer you to other people. And in terms of free trials, demos, and referrals, we'll do the activation for you, and they are cheaper than hiring a fleet of people doing training and doing onboarding and doing closing and that type of stuff. Okay, so all these material, from bringing down your marketing costs for acquiring customer to doing free trials and lowering your costs on the sales side and SDR side of things, you lower your cost for acquisition. Simple math. And then we have efficient use of budget allocation. Sorry. So in terms of fine-tuning your product to delight your customers, which ultimately leads to longer retention. If your product is not only good in the beginning, but also throughout the user experience, throughout their adoption, and the year 1, year 2 of using the product, that brings down your customer acquisition and it gives you more budget at hand to use elsewhere. And not to mention organic growth. If you have happy customers and you're gathering all this amazing feedback and reviews and interviews and building case studies, that content can live on and becomes organic growth. Coupled with word of mouth referral, all of this will bring down your cost per acquisition. And this is really the bottleneck of every company, is how do I bring down customer acquisition cost, which is called CAC? How do I allocate more budgets for retention and increasing lifetime value? So that kind of cycle becomes really healthy in product-led growth. And then we have higher customer satisfaction. NPS score is important, as you know. If you are measuring how your customers are engaging, how much they like the product, because that's part of the products team process and understanding happy clients versus not. Better customer experience means better net promoter score. In the SaaS space, supposedly 50 plus score is great. And I think the measurement here is up to 100. So if you are in the 50 plus, you are in good shape. I don't know if this is correct, George. Are you measuring at 100, or I think we measure it in ranges or in percentages of 25 chunks. So I think, you know, from an NPS score perspective, better products drive better NPS, and that kind of completes the cycle. Okay. All right. So coming back here to the threads on the chat, before we move on to how you can start or launch your own, your first product-led marketing strategy, many of you have answered my question about if you have product-led free trial, offering free trials here. So we have, let's see. Eric said he offers 30 days free trial. That's great. Lee Brighton, free trial. Peter, 28 days. Okay, I'm wondering why 28, not 30. I'm assuming that's 4 weeks. Maurice says free trial. And Peter, what about forcing credit card for trial? I like no credit card needed. I think I agree with you, Burson. Most companies have dropped collecting credit cards, and then they paywall you later. Paywall where they actually, once you start or reach a limit, you cannot continue because now you have to input your credit card. People will probably give you that information later more easily than asking it right in the get-go, because they haven't experienced the product. And in everybody's mind, giving you credit card information is equals to getting charged. Nobody wants to keep on remembering where they inputted their credit cards. But luckily, there are services out there right now that provide burners credit cards. So let's say you have a new vendor, you want to go out and you want to give that vendor a credit card. You can actually go generate a number from that burner card and use it strictly for that vendor. So in case you want to burn that and manage it from one place, because you don't want to use a product anymore, you can do it from there. A lot of services in that space. Kenley said free trial. So it seems like most of you who are on the SaaS side of things are adopting this strategy, which is great. All right, I have a quick question from Sergio. How do you manage the complexity of getting started? You mentioned uploading data, for example. I think we might cover some of these, Sergio, so I'm just going to put a pin on your question, because getting started is tricky. You can do invitations to events and such, training, but let me just put a pin on it, and if I don't answer it, George, please remind me, okay? Because I think some of the content is covering that.
Sure.
All right, so in terms of how to get started, everybody, let's assume you have a product, or let's assume everybody here want to get started with their product-led growth strategy. I think it always starts by figuring out the main pain points of your customers, okay? So what are the main client pain points that they're encountering using your product, okay? Are they being blocked, adding a Google tag, like, in Google's case, they give you this code that you have to add on the footer of the site. And if your team is not responsive, the product is useless, as an example. So what is that difficulty from, getting started with the product and reaching a point where they could start seeing results? Okay. So focus on that particular case. Some companies have solved it in different ways. I'm going to give the Google Tag Manager example. They send you reminders that you haven't installed it, and here are the instructions to install it. They could be sending you to some consultants that could also help you install it for free, and then they have some sort of an arrangement with those consultants to do it at low cost. Or perhaps pre-recorded videos on how easy it could be, or maybe adding plugins that are easy to add to your WordPress site that allows you to link up that code without having to do any coding. So whatever it is, identifying what are the problems getting your product from 0 to 1, let's just call it, and how you can tackle this challenge. In VBOUT's case, one of the things that we have to have clients do is verify sending domain to be able to send out emails. Now, fortunately, this has become a standard across the board in the email marketing space. So most people starting their email game, they understand, but we have tons of resources. We provide hands-on support to assist you with your DNS as well as part of the adoption. But however, we do see people getting stuck there and they really cannot send. But that's something that is unavoidable at this stage. You can also create user stories by going through things like, what is the user searching for exactly? The customer behavior on your site, what pages they are also looking at, content they're consuming. What does the customer onboarding process looks like? Do they need to go through the entire onboarding and learn the whole product because your product is robust? Or are you offering a single point solution that, within 30 minutes, you can learn how to use the product? So I guess that customer onboarding process is key. In the case of, let's say, VBOUT, 2 hours of onboarding is great because we have a full stack. We actually have 12 products we're teaching you. But I've seen companies that, let's say Canva, in 20 minutes, you can learn how to use Canva and be almost a professional at it, right? So figure out your customer onboarding process and write stories around that. Obviously, you can do in-app analytics, which never lies. If you were able to set up the proper variables and things to track where people are clicking, what they're adopting, definitely that will give you some insights, particularly to your product team, which features are being used first. So there's some, progression and lifetime of which features are being adopted before the others. And in-app analytics will give you visibility for that. You can look at support tickets and understand what kind of complaints you're getting. Where's the bottleneck? Is it coming from feature A, feature B, or is it actually just very basic questionnaires? We've worked with so many companies, and we've done it over and over in VBOUT, where we do weekly meetings where the team will share, okay, we're getting so many tickets for this particular feature we just launched. I think we should do this to optimize it, create a knowledge base for it, and a video for it. So combining and having these conversations around support tickets will also help you get there. Understand the top churn reasons. If you have a self-serve model for people leaving your product, maybe you can ask them on the checkout, when they say cancel membership or, whatever is the reason, you can give them like an input saying, we're sorry to see you leave. What is the reason for leaving? If we are to provide, I don't know, some sort of an incentive, would you be willing to stay with us? So don't just make it as easy as click and go. Ask questions so you can understand churn. Every single client that churns VBOUT, obviously, just like any company, we do have churn. We asked the question and we were able to actually have charts and some sort of predictions around why people are leaving the platform. A great point to focus on, guys, to identify your customers' pain points. Not to mention surveys and interviews. If you are an early product, having interviews with your customers through your success managers, doing it yourself, or sending out surveys is great. I like doing interviews if the client is willing to invest 15, 20 minutes of their time. And I've seen companies give out incentives, as little as $25 gift cards for a 10-minute interview, or $200 gift cards for like a 30 minutes interview. So it really depends who you're speaking to. If you're speaking to a C-level exec, I think you should up your Amazon gift card value or whatever you call it. But overall, I think interviews and surveys are a great way to identify pain points as well. Okay. Second point is helping your users solve their problem. So obviously now you identified the issue, you're approaching a solution for this. You need to provide a clear understanding on how to use the product. Easy said than done, but when you condense this into content and recordings, you need clear guidance through maybe bullet points. Okay, so this is the first 5 things you need to do in a checklist of what you have to do before you go to an aha moment. Okay, so very clear guidance on how to use the product is key. You can do it through pre-recorded videos or something built into the product with a checklist. I cannot emphasize this enough, guys, but develop your help pages. You need to have a knowledge base, whether it's baked into the product through like a little button on the top right or bottom left, or your own standalone, or both. Develop your knowledge base. We've used our support tickets to develop our knowledge base, and then we started using our knowledge base to speed up the process of the support tickets. So that's really important. If you have the bandwidth to build mini courses of using the product, that's also important. I mean, we launched the VBOUT Academy. VBOUT, not our main course for lead generation, but just utilizing VBOUT, I think about 10 months ago. And since then, we have over 1,100 people completing the course. So that's really amazing. These are companies and their employees as well. And the course has profoundly impacted their usage of the product and adoption of the product. Because they like to do it themselves, they're consuming 5-minute videos in sections that are ready. So the courses gives them more power to learn your product. Now, obviously, you can amplify all of this with how-to articles, more education to teach them how to do things better, because ultimately they could adopt this for their business and find success. All right, in terms of content, and I'm not going to talk about SEO much here, guys, but just briefly, because you can optimize the content you build for educating people on your product to drive search engine results. Okay, so ultimately, all that amazing content, educating people how to use your feature A, B, and C, could be indexed if you're using your proper, schema markups and such. And proper keyword research, of course, and turning them into mini blog articles. Perhaps your documentation is a mini blog article, or maybe you have a section on your site that talks about products in general. This is going to be your own strategy, but in VBOUT, we do use a lot of educational material to drive traffic and then eventually drive eyeballs, whether it is, things like email inbox preview tool, how to use it, email bounce codes and the different email bounce codes available on the web. I mean, we've written some very particular technology-based or technical articles that eventually led to leads and leads that eventually converted. Okay. I know this is not easy, but you can aim for zero search result ranking where your article can actually show part of it on the Google search results. Everybody have seen this. There are ways to amplify this. I'll leave you to your research, but aim in your content development and your knowledge base, let's say, to provide some zero search results. Now in VBOUT, we do this in some ways where we create headlines in terms of the answers. For example, best ways to reach an inbox. We put bullet points as anchors, and the anchors will develop into larger points. So that's sort of one of the strategies. Hopefully I'm not butchering the SEO process of my team, but I think you can think about it a little bit and watch a few videos on zero search results, which is really good. Yes. All right, I know I have a question in the chat. I'm going to come back to it after this section. So Shannon, please hold on with me. Thank you. I have leveraging reviews, which we do amazingly in VBOUT, not only on our site, by interviewing real customers, asking them for success and such, but we actually use them in retargeting ads with middle of the funnel on Facebook. So when somebody comes in through our Facebook ad for the first time, they're cold leads, they come and they test the product, now they leave. Not only that we have onboarding and such going on, but also customer reviews are being repurposed as middle of the funnel. So they are seeing people talk about the product now. So develop your reviews and show your prospects how others are finding success on the product. Of course, this is the age where people like to see what others are doing. And, although people can read through false reviews and I would say they could read through the bull, that only puts pressure on you to develop real case studies from real companies with very good content. And this is why I fall back on doing video interviews to back up your copy, right? So leveraging review is key as well. Should be part of your product-led growth too. All right, providing a seamless onboarding experience. And I'm gonna probably unpack this a little bit. Perhaps that could answer one or two questions from the thread. In VBOUT, we've done it in different ways. So what we did is we offer paid for one-on-one training sessions, okay, which is very involved, and you need to spend hour and a half times 8 or 7 times with the client until they kind of get fully onboarded. It's really hands-on for companies who want someone to do the heavy lifting for them, okay? But then we realize there's a chunk of clients who want to learn, they want to do things on their own. So we actually created training sessions in terms of evergreen training sessions. So they're running daily. You can watch them on your own. You don't have to pay for them. And these are offered for everyone that's coming on the platform. Now, to amplify your onboarding process, you can do product tours, which product tours can be in multiple ways. One of them is when you click next, it shows you, it highlights like in a Lightbox format, this is what this is, and the little tooltip, click next, it goes around. This is great, but it could be a little bit kind of overwhelming for bigger product types or bigger SaaS platforms. So you just have to be careful how you deploy self tours or product tours. Or what you can do a recording of the product. Although some people would say, giving up too much product features and demos are not result centric, sometimes they're product centric. That's up for debate. But however, I think having a pre-recorded demo of the product properly laid out and very clear will bring a lot of value for your customers. You can certainly use marketing automation, which is what we preach here, which is what we offer to educate clients and increase activation. So someone signs up for a free trial, Bam, you put them into this automation sequence where every day they get an education material packed into a video, resource, copy, and they could consume these for every section of the product. All right. And if you provide or top off those three with an instant dedicated support that could answer real questions, you have really, I would say, secured that path for your customers to find success. Okay, they could consume your ready-made training sessions, whether it's academy or your own layout format, product tours, and marketing automation on a daily basis, and a live chat support. Okay. Then we have offering free trial, coming back to our conversation before. And VBOUT to offer 14 days free trial. I'm not sure how others, some of you said 28 days, some of you said 1 month free trial. So it's really going to depend on what kind of business you're running. But 14 days is usually 2 weeks to be able to adopt and test something. And you can play around with this after 14 days. If the aha moment hasn't been reached, perhaps you can send them an email to extend that period. Okay. Now, freemium plans are important as well for certain companies. I would debate. Some companies would say if it's a free product, people will take it for granted. People will not use it. But I would have to argue in some cases, that's not true. Because let's take Canva, for example. You can use a lot of the features of Canva. And you can continue using it until you're ready to buy. Okay. So when I'm not paying for the product, I'm certainly in one way or another the product. So I refer a lot of people to Canva. We've integrated with Canva. So we're driving them tons of traffic. And I'm pretty sure a lot of the traffic we've driven them have converted at some point, right? Without any incentives to us beyond the actual awesome product use. So if your product is really good, the freemium model will make people stick around and use you for more. Now, if you're using the freemium model, actually, if you're using the 14 days free trial or any trial, probably it's worth giving them full access to the product. But if you're giving them a freemium model, you can build a paywall where at some given point, they're like, all right, well, if you want to go that far, now you need to input your credit card and upgrade your plan or whatever it is. Okay. So think about free trials, think about freemium and how you can paywall this so you can obviously convert long term. All right. So this is it for the segment. I have metrics to track, which is really interesting as well. But I'll take up some questions. All right. This definitely goes beyond just SaaS. Andreas said, yes, Andreas, I think you can use it for service. If your service is probably a product centric, that means you have package A, package B, package C, and you might have some software that backs it up. Absolutely. All right, Shannon's asking, can you recommend a good support ticketing system to easily take insights from tickets, export users from the system and segment them to send surveys and set customized content to them? So Shannon, I can't really, what we use Intercom, which has become extremely pricey. So I don't know if it's for everybody here. There are certainly a lot of other products on the market. I might have to come back to you on that because I don't like to recommend something I haven't personally tried it. But what we use currently is Intercom. It works really well. They have a lot of tools. They even have walkthroughs, but you pay for everything. And you can reach $1,000 a month easy if you have a lot of users on the platform. All right, so Sarah is asking, I have Canva Pro plan. Is it okay? Yeah, absolutely. I think Canva is great. I use it every week. My team use it every day probably. So I cannot recommend it enough. And now coming back to Sergio, who asked, how do you manage the complexity of getting started? You mentioned uploading data, for example. Sergio, this question strictly to VBOUT, or you're asking general in terms of if you have a product and you want people to get started? So I'll give you maybe a second before I continue in general. If getting started is uploading data, obviously, that could be one of your steps to, or check marks, checklists on the dashboard when people first log into your product. So I don't know if the answer is yes to upload information, because not every product is the same. But if your product requires input or uploading data, you're going to have to probably think about integrations and how you can bring data to your system without too much manual work. And I'll explain. If you're an e-commerce product and you're offering some e-commerce analytics, the last thing you want to do is tell your customers, I want you to go export your Shopify sales and bring them over to my product by doing an import. That's actually 3 steps, because they have to go to another product. They have to find out how they can export, which could be very challenging. Then they have to log on to your product and import, and then look for the results. If you do this via an integration, let's say an API connector, which requires engineering. Now, all you do is click here, you go in, you go through the authentication screen, which I don't count it as necessarily like a hurdle or step, it's just okaying the process. And then now all the data is back to your product. So simplifying how you get the data into your system, I think, is how you should approach that particular question. But a data dump through API, upload, I think is, yes, definitely one way. Sarah's asking if I integrate with Crello and Pixelite. I can't answer you on these right now. I don't have anything programmed for Crello, Sarah. I think Crello is a great product. I don't know if they rebranded as well. But let's reserve these questions, if you don't mind, for like our Facebook group and stuff like that. That would be great. All right, George, anything on Facebook that I missed?
No, for now, all good.
Good. And we're doing, I think on time, we're going to need probably another 10, 15. So stick around. All right, so let's talk about some metrics you can measure. And these are going to be easy to kind of unpack. One is time to value, the time it takes for your customer to find value on the product. And that value varies. If you're an e-commerce analytics company, maybe you want a visibility and beautiful charts on, sales breakdown by country, lifetime value per customer, top buyers, top performing products. If this is your reason for using a product analytics, you want to be able to see this as fast as possible. And if you can do it within a minute of sign up, which is an example I've given before to Sergio, that's great. It's going to take much longer than this. The time to value is much longer, which usually decreases activation, and you don't want that. So the shorter it takes to reach there, the better the activation gets, okay? The second thing, or second metric you can be looking at, is product qualified leads. So these are the customers who have been activated, and then they reach the aha moment, right? That's when they saw those beautiful charts about all their e-commerce analytics, and now they're seeing value in the product. And how you identify your product qualified leads is, what is that one event that makes them reach that aha moment? All right, in the case of the e-commerce, is seeing the charts. In the case of VBOUT, is sending out an email and seeing opens and clicks. In the case of VBOUT, is people signing up to forms and getting 20 SMS messages coupled with email. And Google Analytics obviously is the same, seeing those live visitors on the website. Or perhaps in just taking a product like Slack, right? You joined communities, or you launch your own community, and now you have few people engaging and speaking on that product because they do a great job into getting engagement and mentions and tags and notifications. So whatever it may be, I mean, you have to identify those aha moments. And what are the actions that your customers perform that shows them that they are ready to move on to their next customer journey? Sometimes it's clicking on a button, or perhaps it's as simple as watching a video of how to upload data. Okay, so it's not only about interacting with the product, it could be also interacting with your knowledge base. Number 3 is feature adoption rates, FAR. And marketers were great in coming up with acronyms and names. So this metric measures how many new customers use a specific feature, and it's determined as a percentage. So if you have 5 features on the product, what is the percentage of adoption for feature 1 versus feature 2? And it's not hard to actually calculate. It's the number of customers of a feature and the number of products of the customer. All right, expansion revenue. This is a great area for SaaS, and it's actually something looked at by investors if you're fundraising, is that how much of your revenue is coming from upselling existing clients or getting existing clients to upgrade. So if you've closed $100,000 worth of business this month, and then in month 2, that $100,000 turned to 130 because you had, let's say, 30% of your customers upgrade a little bit. So that's sort of like what we call expansion revenue. And that's why a lot of companies from a product side of things, they create add-ons and plugins, maybe even templates that you pay for. So small things that could increase the value of the product and have people pay for more. Some of you hate this, I do know. A lot of clients want everything all the time for inclusive in their plan, but it is strategy for a lot of startups. And sometimes it's worth it if it's something that's heavy on, because everything you build, you need to spend on engineering, you need to spend on third-party resources to run. So sometimes from a SaaS company perspective, you have to charge, and this is where add-ons and cross-selling becomes handy. According to ProfitWell, expansion revenue should contribute 30% of your total revenue for a healthy SaaS business. So that's a quick benchmark for you. All right, metric number 5 is ARPU, the average revenue per user. And this is easily calculated, which is you taking all your customers, and let's say you're making 100,000 a month, and you have 100,000 customers or 1,000 customers, then obviously it's $100 per, right? So this is some simple math. An average order value of $100 per month is how it looks like. Now, that's a big conversation for pricing. Some companies, they like to keep pricing as simple as possible. So this is more you can predict ARPU, and the higher tiers don't influence lower tiers, and so on. But I think having that ARPU in your reporting is really important because you want to bring that up as much as possible across the board. Okay. I have a couple more here for you. Customer lifetime value is the time a customer stays with you and they continue paying. So if Richard paid for your product $200 over 2 years' time, my lifetime value is calculated by $200 divided by 24 months, okay? Or, actually multiplied, I'm sorry. So if I'm paying $200 a month times 24, that's how you can determine my lifetime value. Okay, so it's really key for companies to have longer lifetime values, and you want to be able to bring this up. And one way to bring or to increase the likeliness of somebody staying with your product is to actually make the product better on an ongoing basis. Then we have, actually I have 2 more here. I had 3 more before. Net retention churn, net revenue churn. This is when customers leave. And unfortunately, this is unavoidable for any type of business. I don't care who you are. But measure the amount of money lost from new expansion revenue and determine it as a percentage. The revenue lost in a period and expansion revenue is divided by the revenue at the beginning of a period. I think what I just said probably was too fast, but look up different kinds of churns. You can measure it by revenue churn, meaning how much money you lost this month from businesses, and you can have logo churn, amount of units lost, and that's how you can measure it. So if you have an ARPU that's more predictable, you can use logo churn more efficiently. But if you have your ARPU across the very scattered, you might probably want to use the net revenue churn. Okay. And then you have a customer satisfaction score. Honestly, I don't really use this internally at VBOUT. Everything else I showed you so far we use, but this is the percentage of clients that have delightful experience with the product, because we tend to speak to every customer more or less, and we understand where the bottlenecks is or not. So we haven't really got it down to a percentage, but this is another metric that's used in product-led growth. Then you have virality. I actually was wrong, guys. I have two more, and they keep on coming. Thank you, George.
You're welcome. Yeah, we still have virality and network effect.
Cool. So virality is when a product rate increases exponentially as more people share it. So obviously this is the word of mouth effect, more people talking about the product, and you see that hockey stick adoption across time. I don't know, the coefficient for it is number of invitations sent. So if you have a referral program and you sent 100, or your user base, customer base sent 100 invites, 20 of them signed up and became a customer, obviously this is a 20% conversion rate, right? So this could be like your coefficient or whatever you want to call it. And then finally, thank you guys for sticking with me here, is the network effect. Is what happens when other people from whom the product was initially shared by start to adopting it as well. Because not only enough for somebody to say yes to an invite, they have to actually start using it, become a user, and coming back to that flywheel is, becoming champions of your product and talking more about it. So this is in terms of, the things you can, or the metrics that you can track if you're building your product-led strategy. A lot here to unpack, guys. I know not everything that I shared is for every single one of you. However, you take and piece together the parts that make sense. Okay, I'm a big believer of this, because there's no one way to do a business. There's no one road to success, and there's no one road to user behavior. It varies business to business, industry to industry. So you are your own captain of your own ship, and you'll be able to kind of identify what works for you. All right, now the rest of the stuff are just examples from companies. So this should be quick, and then I'll open it for questions. How VBOUT is doing product-led marketing? We got this question last time on an event. First, we offer free trials, obviously. We also have VBOUT branding on the lowest tier. Okay, VBOUT is branded on emails and web push notifications and forms and landing pages. Then we have onboarding and training sessions running evergreen twice a day or on demand. Very important. We have dozens of attendees on a daily basis, except for the weekend. But it provides just 2 hours of training and a replay gets sent as well. We have a very robust automation sequence for onboarding, where we send bits and pieces of onboarding to new signups. We even send SMS messages for a little more aggressive activation. We have full dedicated support on standby. People brag about our support. So we've deployed it and we know firsthand that it works. We've built a lot of courses to become an academy. You learn how to do lead gen and get strategy in place, to learn how to use VBOUT, or to become an agency partner of ours. So we created 3 different courses, which took some time to record and edit and put together, but honestly worth every moment and every second. We've leveraged online reviews heavily, and we incentivize clients. We talk to our clients, we request them, but we never say, hey, leave us a 5-star review. We're really big on leave us a review, and we'd like to, buy you a cup of coffee for your time, because it takes time and everybody's busy. So incentivizing people to leave a review does not mean that they're going to give you a 5-star immediately. Okay, it doesn't mean that you're buying that 5-star. So there's a fine line here on how you ask and who you ask, of course. We have a referral program, and people are leveraging it heavily as well, with kickbacks for whoever signs up. We have a partnership program, which is an amplified and glorified version of a referral with a lot of tools under your belt and a lot more support, monthly training and such. And these monthly trainings are really good. We built a lot of case studies of awesome partners of ours and clients who found success. We have a community that we are invested in from a time perspective. We answer our clients all the time with their inquiries and suggestions. We have a lot of integrations, and this is an area, guys, what I think I did not mention is thinking your integration strategy with other products, because you can put your integrations on their marketplace and that could ultimately lead to your own sign-up. So that's a good strategy in product-led marketing, which I covered briefly without its own dedicated slide, but I think it's definitely a very important section. Last here is some other companies have, or examples of companies who've used this. SurveyMonkey, you can see on the bottom, they have their logo right there. So if you're using SurveyMonkey product, they have a branding everywhere. Similarly with Calendly, they have a free tier, so that's one. And then they have their logo on the top right corner if you're using the free tier. And the only way to remove this, which by the way is clickable to sign up, is to actually pay for it. So you upgrade, you remove this. Then you have Slack, which automatically sends you some bot notifications. They create some channels for you by default, and they ask you to invite your team members. And the moment team members start to join, engagements start to happen. With Dropbox, if you're sharing a file, Dropbox is everywhere and the option to sign up. So whoever is receiving a file from you, if never been a Dropbox user, obviously now they're surrounded, and they probably get an email as well, asking them to join to save this file on their own account. So they created this virality in the process. And then you have Zoom, which everybody uses. The moment that you launch Zoom or you close Zoom, there are screens that show up that talks about it and how you can get started. Okay, very simple example, you guys. I think worth kind of looking at what's out there to get inspiration. All right, now in terms of bonuses, a lot of links here. We finished the content for today, so I'm going to start with questions, but we're not stopping here. We have a lot of these trainings examples and free tools. George is going to share them with you in a follow-up email, so you can see what we're talking about exactly and how we developed it at VBOUT. We have our academy, which we'd love to give to you so you can learn how to become a more efficient marketer and deploy it for your business. Our agency course, and we have marketing automation by industry, which George, I think, have shared like a wealth of knowledge for you. So here it is, guys. I think this particular presentation is jam-packed with content if you are building a strategy with a SaaS company to be running their growth campaigns. Okay, whether you're doing it through, it's a very basic product and you're focused on the marketing automation side of things, or whether you're handling the entire strategy. I think you can bring a lot to the table by extracting some information from here, if some of this information is new to you, of course. But other than this, I just want to thank everybody for joining, and I'll open up the floor here for some questions. If you have any, George, I'm happy to take them.
Sure. Actually, I was checking Facebook. No questions. Here, I think you finally answered Sarah, right?
I did, yes.
Yeah.
So guys, any questions? This is the time for it. I know I spilled over a little bit, but this is, I think it's definitely a good time to ask your questions if you have. I'm going to stop the recording at this point just to keep the recording clean. I know sometimes we spill over for like 20 minutes. So I'll go ahead and stop that.